If you haven't seen Chapter 1, Part 1, The Beginning of the End, go watch that first. A link will be left in the description. The story begins from where it last left off, with the adventurers at Eric's cottage after successfully stealing the purple gem from underneath the old temple of Rosh in the city of Thoradrin, handing it over to an imp that Eric had summoned at his cottage just outside the city to the north. After delivering the treasure, the imp disappeared with the gem, and then they started hearing faint screams coming from the city. As the distant wails from Thoradrin grew louder, Eric, Thornton, and Vale stepped outside the modest confines of the cottage. The city's silhouette was backlit by rising flames, and dark figures darted across the fiery skyline. The sight was enough to set their hearts racing, and after a brief, tense discussion, they decided it was time to flee Norden. Fearing that they might be blamed for this incident, Eric's voice was urgent, cutting through the panic. "I have a rowboat stashed on the beach. We can row to Ventress Island. I know some smugglers there who owe me. They can get us to Vielkaina, but we would have to travel through Thoradrin's outer edge at the very least to get to the rowboat." Thornton and Vale exchanged glances, both trying to come up with a better idea, but quickly realizing they had no better options. "Let's move," Vale said, her voice tinged with fear. Upon reaching the city gates, they found them deserted, the wicket door swinging ominously in the wind. The trio cautiously made their way along the city's outskirts, their ears filled with the sporadic screams of terror echoing through the streets. Reaching the main thoroughfare that cuts a straight line through the whole city, however, a sense of dread settled over them. As they looked toward the city center, a terrifying sight stopped them dead in their tracks. A massive explosion of magical energy burst from the ground, spiraling into the sky before exploding and forming a chaotic void above the city. The explosion seemed to destroy the very fabric of space, turning it into a chaotic spiraling void. Demons poured forth from the newly formed portal in massive numbers, some flying, some crawling, and some slithering. The demons began swarming the citizens below, slaughtering them viciously. Vale gasped, "What have we done?" Eric snapped, "No time for guilt, we need to run." As they sprinted towards the beach, Thornton and Vale hurled accusations at Eric. "How could you not know this would happen, Eric?" Thornton shouted as they ran. Eric defensively retorted, "How was I supposed to foresee this? Our only chance is to make it to the boat." Their argument was cut short by a demonic roar that chilled their blood. A towering demon with a pair of ram horns appeared before them, a fire burning under its hide, and the fiend's wings red like heated metal and having a tattered edge, a loosely coiled chain in one hand, and pointing a flaming sword at them with the other. With another ferocious roar, a horde of lesser demons followed the huge demon's command, chasing the adventurers. "Ram!" Thornton yelled, panic in his voice. They dodged through alleys, turning several corners, trying to lose their pursuers, but a new terror awaited. A demon, similar to the towering one that had appeared before, crashed through a building to intercept them. This giant demon seemed to have lightning crackling under its skin instead of fire and carried no weapons in its hands. The demon, spotting them, growled like a beast and started chasing them down. Vale shrieked as they turned and ran. "What is that thing?" Eric glanced back, his face pale. A Fumarog, one of the mightiest demons under the demon lords. Less talking, more runny. However, before Thornton could finish his sentence, he was cut off by the sound of a slice and a thud as he hit the ground face first. The Fumarog from before, catching sight of them once again, had lashed out its chain, severing Thornton's right foot off from his ankle. Thornton only had a brief moment to look up with a shocked expression and reach out a single hand before the horde of demons pounced on him, tearing him limb from limb. Vale, seeing this, shrieked out, "Thornton, no!" Her cry was heart-wrenching. Before she could lunge forward towards Thornton, her arm was yanked by Eric, pulling her back into a run. Eric yelled, "Don't stop, or you're dead." Doing her best to stifle her tears, Vale, along with Eric, continued fleeing, gaining a bit of distance while the horde of demons devoured Thornton. Seeming to have lost the demons chasing them, Vale and Eric approached the gate that led to the beach where the rowboat was stowed away. However, just as they were about to reach the gate, Eric heard Vale yelp out, "Huh?" and turning to look at her, saw a chain tightly wrapped around her. "Eri!" was all she managed to gasp out before being yanked back by the Fumarog with its deadly chain. The Fumarog had flown up and landed on a nearby building, grasping Vale before being noticed by the Forsaken pair. Eric, not stopping to watch what happened next, fled out the gate, running down to the coast as fast as he could. What only lasted a few minutes felt like an eternity to Eric. As he reached the beach, he headed to the spot where he had hidden his rowboat, which he had prepared for exactly this kind of situation, a catastrophe. Refusing to look back towards the now desolated and burning Thoradrin, Eric pulled the boat from where he had hidden it and pushed it out onto the ocean waters. Hopping in and rowing off, he never stopped for a moment to check behind him, afraid of what he would see. As he disappeared into the misty sea, the sounds of Thoradrin's demise echoed across the waters, a haunting reminder of the chaos they had unwittingly unleashed. That's the end of Chapter 1, but the story will continue Thursday next week. If you enjoyed this first chapter's finale, give a like and subscribe to the Dragon Emperor to stay tuned for the continuation of Qualth's epic story.